Hello and welcome to yet another replay analysis by Strangers123. Today we are looking at my Mies T69 on Sand River Defense. Now, first thing we notice is stock gun. Not just that, he's got 50 APCR and also 10 HE shells. But before we go further into that, let's have a quick look at the team because this is actually quite interesting. When it comes to tier spread, the opponents get one more tier 8 than ours. They get 3 medium tanks and 3 heavy tanks on top of that. We get 3 tank destroyers and 2 tier 8 medium tanks. One of them which is a sucking Persian. However, our tank destroyers are a mix of, well, it's not really a mix, it's complete opposite. 2 really slow tank destroyers with reasonable guns and a Rheinmetall Borsig. So at least we have some armor on the team in the form of the 2 T28s. The opponent team doesn't really, they do get hull down power though with, well, lower okay turret, T34, a Centurion T34-3 and a T59, and then on top of that a T29, but we also get that as well. Armor wise, our team, their team is around about the same-ish. Firepower wise, we get the TDs, and this is Sand River Defense. Anyways, let's play. Excuse me. Now, firstly, as I pointed out, 5 HE shells is decent enough. It's enough to get you a reset, or if you're feeling cheap, you can unload some of the stuff into artillery or something. But you don't really need 10 of them because they're not really that powerful. But after all, this is your first game, so you know, don't blame me too much for it. Anyways, I'm gonna pause that again. This is, after all, detailed analysis, and I've watched through the replay 3 times. I basically come, well, the biggest issue that I came with is situation awareness, which leads to bad positioning, and bad positioning plus enemy tanks kind of led to what looked a bit like panic, I guess. So let's just, well, speed it up a bit. Pause was honestly kind of unnecessary. But basically I came to the conclusion that you need to try not to pay too much attention on a single target and kind of be a bit more aware of what's up with your own tank. Anyways, I just fast forwarded through the AMX-12T clip. Speaking of clips, the other thing is clip management. Though, first game and whatnot in this tank at this time. Obviously now I think at least XVM worked previously when I looked through it, but we had like 30 odd games in it registered in XVM. So yeah. But clip management. With a 15-second reload on a 5-shell clip, it's definitely the most beneficial to reload as often as possible. It might not necessarily be kill reloading, but at least reload as often as possible, because it only takes 15 seconds. Considering that, for example, something like a T34-3 takes 11, 12, depending on whether you have vents or crew skills or whatnot. You can even get it down to 10 something. But it's a pretty long reload for 120. Well, for 122 it's a good reload. For 5-shell 76mm autoloader, 15 seconds isn't bad, and 15 seconds for autoloader can catch some enemies off. Now, it also appears that our vehicle does not have a 6th sense, which meant that the initial defensive position, well, held back position we had at the back, is really risky, since it, well, I guess without 6th sense, you never spotted, but it does mean you're gonna get shot a lot blind by the enemies. Ha ha ha. So that's something you need to be aware of. Really open positions like that, especially without bushes or anything, and without cam on the tank, can be a big risk, especially if stuff like 12T has coded optics. Or, any kind of U-rate enhancing stuff on the vehicle. Anyways, we take a couple of pot shots at the Tiger 1. I doubt the second one would have dealt any damage, and this is what I meant by clip management. By now, 7 seconds has passed ish already. 10 and roundabout. Now, our clip would have been fully reloaded again if we'd reloaded it to, a couple of seconds after we shot at the Tiger. And right there, not firing at the M4 was the correct decision to do it. Because now we've got 2 one-shot kills, and we've got 2 shells in the gun. If one of them misses, and you start backing up, especially if you don't kill the 12T first, and you miss the 12T or ding his turret or something stupid, he could easily clip half your health off before your gun comes back up and you can finish him. So that's something you need to be aware of. And that's what I mean by clip management. Correctly managing a autoloader clip. And remember the one biggest rule of autoloaders: you're not allowed to have a clip dealing full damage. They're either going to get low damage rolls, even if you do get them all to penetrate, or one of them's going to ding, miss, bounce, or just do something stupid. So keep that in mind. Well, it's not a rule. I have had autoloader clips that all deal, go in and deal damage, but it's quite often that one of those shells does something stupid, so keep that in mind. Anyways, AMX M4 gets kill stolen. We hesitate a bit on the AMX 12T, which possibly gives him some time to aim on us. And now this is what I mean by positioning. We're really open here. Sure, we can't get shot by these guys, but anything goes up there can shoot into us. And artillery, pretty much wherever, can click on us. And, oh dear, here comes a Tiger. But, 15-second reload, our gun's back up. He's not even aiming at us. We take a somewhat frantic shot at him, and it doesn't appear he's interested in coming back, especially now that Borsig just shot him, and he's fired his gun again. And this is another part of clip management and positioning, as we hear the Black Prince receive a heat shell from the T-34-3. How do I know it's a T-34-3? Because the KV-85 has the 85mm gun, and the T-34-3 at that area is the only vehicle that has a heat shell. In fact, other than the artillery, which it cannot physically possibly have been since his heat shells are really distinctive, the only vehicle remaining on the enemy team which has a heat shell that does that much damage is the T-34-3. Anyways, moving on. There, again, clip management. We unload whatever we have towards the 5100 and then immediately put the gun on reload again, which is probably what we should have done once the Tiger received the hit from the Borsig, and we would have still been loaded to shoot at the AMX 50. So, which meant that if the 50 was sitting in the open, then we would have been able to, for example, unload 5 instead of 4 into him, as we spot a KV-13. It's unlikely that he will detect us if we have even a decent camera crew, and I guess we're actually spotted since that T-34-3 is pointing his gun straight at us, but we autoload a bit into him, scoring 1 penetrating hit, and this is what I mean. We don't have Sixth Sense, and he's just killed the Black Prince anyways. We don't have Sixth Sense, so sitting here without knowing whether we're spotted or not, with an enemy artillery kind of sideways on to the artillery, can be a bit iffy. Anyways, pushing on with the replay. Now we're just waiting to see if the enemy is going to show up, which the T-34-3 does, and we start autoloading a bit into him. And we unload the full drum, and the replay goes through. But anyways, clips on a reload, and the 50 is a one-shot kill. So let's move up and I see we're looking behind us to see, and pause. This position there is where you want to be to shoot the 50, because from here that guy can shoot us back, and we are really open to artillery here. Well, you would be where I suggest as well. That's not going to change how open you are to artillery, but now the T-34-3 knows where we are, and the lorry just killed the Borsig anyways. And that was really bit of a frantic aim on him, and an immediate reload, which is the correct decision to do here. And now we're being charged down by KV-13. Bump! Bump! That's what I mean by situational awareness. You can't shoot that guy that guy will shoot you whether you're here, here, there, unless you're behind here. So why not keep the front of your turret pointing at him, maybe even auto aim with a right click on him, and concentrate on driving your tank back around the corner, which would give you a position of cover. Instead now, we're sitting completely in the open. Anyways, we do see how that it is a low health tank, and that looked like a side armor shot right in the side. We get a pretty lucky D-trap on the T-34-3, and we auto-load the rest of it into his tracks to keep him there. And now, 15-second reload, which isn't too bad. T25/2 takes out the T-34-3, and here's the point where I mean by panicking. I would have tried to go around this area here, especially knowing on the map, but there are no more enemies. To at least try to keep something between the KV-13 who's trying to get around us. And I would definitely not accept a ram from him, because we're about the same. He's got way better front lower glacis armor and hull armor anyway. And now a bit of panicking, a bit of auto aim and whatnot, and he gets another shell into us. But at least we take him out. And artillery has been focusing on this side of this area, and I'm honestly quite surprised that he hasn't taken us out yet. But anyways, not to complain about that. We'll get to the artillery later. We at least are still alive, and we now have map control. That's really important actually. Since we have the map control, we have the middle, which is a really good Overwatch area of the capture circle itself. And the timer is now ticking down. The enemy don't have a lot of time left on the clock before we get an automatic victory. That's just how Assault works. Anyways, we have a fully loaded clip, and we are approaching the capture area, and I probably would not have just snapshotted that, because that meant that, and then we just unloaded the rest into the ARL. Goal here would probably honestly be to reset the gap, which means Centurion, ARL being the only two cappers, Centurion got there first, especially considering how little time there is left. But that doesn't really matter, because our clip will come back up fast enough for us to be able to kill, or reset at least, before the enemy capture completes. Even with the 90mm gun, that would still easily be possible. And this is back to positioning again. We basically just backed up, hid, and we're now going back to the same position. The enemy is going to be prepared for us, and we are now the only remaining vehicle left. The enemy artillery took out our artillery a couple of seconds ago, so he still won't be loaded yet. But he will be during the time we're clipping our enemies. Which means that it is really high chance that we're going to get clicked on here, especially since the artillery knows we're the last remaining vehicle, and we were spotted during the time we killed the opponent. Well, our artillery, that would be his enemy artillery, our artillery. So he's probably fully aimed on us. So, personally, I would have gone somewhere else, and that's what the autoloader reload is for. We take a blind on the corner, shooting into the track to guarantee the reset on the Centurion, fire another shell unnecessarily into the track, that angle is too great to penetrate, and we fire another shell into his hull, leaving him with 27 health. Now, excuse me, that was the biggest mistake, combined with not relocating somewhere else, which could and honestly should have cost you the game. I'll show you why. There's only 35 seconds left on the timer. Oh dear. There are now 2 cappers in the cap circle. We know where one of them is, behind that building. ARL reset. Boom. And that was lucky. Straight line. Easily predictable. Now here's a kind of a combination of small misplays that kind of messed you over there. First of all, snapshot on the side of the T69. He was not a priority target, he was not in the cap circle. But a kill is a kill, so killing him first was a good choice. Secondly, unloading everything into the ARL. Kind of a misplay. Should have reset the Centurion instead, which would give you some more time to relocate around. Alternate positions are here, this entire ridge area up to about that rock, so get your cap circle coverage. Here would require you to go underneath, but it would let you shoot around the ARL B-39's building and around some of the buildings in here as well. But in the end, it doesn't matter because the artillery got that lucky miss on us, which, in my opinion, honestly, should have cost you the game. Either way, to quickly go over it, situational awareness, positioning, and don't freak out when enemies are coming at you. Try to stay calm and see what's around you, to try to analyze positions which you can use to defend your position against a superior enemy force, which would have, in the situation I mentioned, been around the corner. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy listening to my commentary, and I hope you learned something out of it. You get some more out of your T69, especially when you get it fully upgraded. Sorry for this analysis being really late. I know I'm used to having them out on the day and at latest the day after, but now that I've got PC issues sorted, we can actually do that now. So, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.